So I'm convinced that she is electable, that she can be elected governor, and she has the skills to be governor. And right now, the people of California and the people of the country are depending on California to get its house in order. And there's no one I know who is better able and prepared to stop the decline, to get the state to turn around, to stop the job losses, to keep companies from moving away, to stop the tax increases, to stop the pain that the California people are suffering. And that's why I'm proud to announce the person who I am convinced, with your help, will be the next great governor of California, Meg Whitman.
Well, I'm happy to be back at the GOP convention to talk with you tonight. And I'm excited because I think 2010 is going to be a momentous year for the GOP. I can feel the excitement tonight, and I see it every day on the campaign trail. You know, I have traveled up and down our state, and I can tell you a couple of things. Voters are tired of runaway spending. They are tired of bigger government, and they have had it with broken promises. They want results, and they are turning to the Republican Party to deliver this. So we have a great opportunity in 2010. Now, I'm proud to stand here as a Republican candidate for governor. Our party has the right ideas and the right principles to lead California out of this crisis. And I couldn't be more pleased that my friend and mentor, Governor Mitt Romney, has joined us tonight. You know, Mitt is a committed conservative, and I think he is one of the great leaders of our Republican Party. But I have a very personal relationship with Mitt. He hired me at Bain & Company, which was my first job after we moved to California nearly 25 years ago. And this was a defining moment in my career. So I'm hoping that his endorsement this year will help me with my current job interview, and that is to be your governor. Now, in a couple of minutes, Mitt is going to join me on stage to really have a question and answer session about the future of our state and the future of our country. Because Mitt mentioned it, the parallels between the country and California are not lost on either of us. And so we'll have, I think, a very good conversation. But also here tonight, I see so many of my supporters who have been early on with me in this campaign. Many of you know them: Assemblyman Jim Nielsen, State Senator Mark Weiland, and many, many others. But I also want to acknowledge Tony Strickland. You know, Tony has just announced that he's going to be our next state controller. Well, you didn't announce that you were going to be, but you are. And I want to say, when Tony and I win in November, we will use our collective will and commitment to fiscal discipline to finally bring some common sense back to spending-happy Sacramento. Now, I'm running for governor of California because I love this state, and I believe it can be great again. My husband and I first came to California in 1981. In fact, come to think of it, Griff and I moved here during Jerry Brown's final term. Now, we'll come back to Jerry in just a minute. But my husband, Griff, is here tonight, as Tony mentioned. And you know, you never run for public office by yourself. And I am just deeply grateful to Griff for the support all the way along the line. So thank you, hon. So my husband and I raised our two sons here. Griff trained to be a doctor at UCSF, and I grew a business here. We love California. But I have to tell you, we are worried about the future of our state. I'm worried about our home. Sacramento has grown government, but it has not grown our prosperity. It's remarkable, and in many ways, I think quite scary, about how out of touch so many Sacramento politicians have become with the people that they claim to represent. And we may be numb to the statistics, but in some ways they are worth repeating. So how is it possible in the last decade preceding the recession and the ensuing state budget crisis that state spending grew 80%? How is it possible that the state added 40,000 workers in just the last 5 years? How is it possible that our state has the 47th worst debt burden in America, and yet we pay some of the highest taxes in the country? How is it possible that we have more people unemployed in California right now than the entire population of 15 states? And how exactly did the politicians in Sacramento justify this? They didn't. Instead, last year, they passed one of the largest tax increases in California history. And today, despite that tax increase, we still have a $20 billion budget deficit. It is remarkable. You know, at eBay, I turned a startup with 30 employees into a Fortune 500 company with nearly $8 billion in revenue and 15,000 employees. I know how to balance budgets and create jobs. I've done it before, and with your help, I can do it again in California. Now, believe me, I'm not saying this is going to be easy, but the good things in life are often hard won. And I've learned a few things from my 30 years in business that I think could help shake up Sacramento. The next governor of California has to make some very tough decisions. And I'm the only candidate in the race who has the ability and the experience to stand up to the public employee unions and lay down the law. You know, I'm committed to reducing the state workforce by 40,000 workers, back down to the 2004-2005 levels. And I promise you, I will not relent until we get this government right-sized and in its proper place. The next governor has to make jobs the top priority. It's time we actually had a governor who actually knows something about creating jobs. I have created thousands of jobs in California, and I am committed to overhauling our tax system to encourage employers to start hiring Californians again. And my goal is to help create 2 million new private sector jobs by the end of my first term. The next governor of California must know her way around a budget. I've balanced budgets in my whole career. Balancing the books isn't an art, and it shouldn't be a mystery. It's a job for someone with the skill and the guts to dig deep, identify the waste, and meet the bottom line. I'm going to use technology to improve services, root out abuse, and insist on efficiency at every level of state government. I've already scoured the budget, and I'm committed to finding $15 billion in savings and cuts in my first term. We can do more with less. We will do more with less in the Whitman administration. I'm also going to tackle the $60 billion unfunded pension liability that is facing the state. This is the train coming through the tunnel that will hit every Californian if we don't fix this. You know, in my view, it's just wrong to ask hardworking mothers and fathers and young people to endure higher taxes to pay for the too generous pension benefits of the civil servant. And we have got to reform this pension system no matter how hard the unions push back. The status quo is not just unsustainable for taxpayers. It's not sustainable for the civil servant workers either. We have got to take up this issue. The next issue we have to address ourselves to is our broken welfare system. This is another area where billions of dollars can be saved. California has 12% of the nation's population, and we have 32% of the nation's welfare cases. We cannot afford to be the welfare state anymore. And as your governor, I will demand personal responsibility, and I will strengthen work requirements. Welfare will be a temporary hand up, not a way of life in California. As your governor, I'll also fight to put a strict spending limit in place so politicians can never spend us into a budget crisis again. No governor in America will be more fiscally conservative than I will be. We are never going to spend our way to prosperity. But if we're not careful, we could tax ourselves into permanent underemployment. So let's have a frank talk about taxes. We're going to cut taxes to spur job creation. Here's some of the things I want to do. I want to eliminate the capital gains tax in California. I want to cut the factory tax that punishes manufacturers by charging them sales tax on the equipment they buy in California. This has been quite remarkable. We have lost 600,000 manufacturing jobs since 2000, 32% of the industrial base, and that's because it's just too expensive to be a manufacturer here. I also want to eliminate the startup tax that imposes an $800 fee on entrepreneurs who start new businesses. And I want to increase the R&D tax credit to stimulate investment and new jobs in new technologies. My tax cuts will, in fact, jumpstart our economy. It'll help close the budget gap and ultimately enable us to cut income taxes across the board without miring us in even bigger debt. Thank you. Now, if you want to know which candidate you can trust to protect the taxpayers, you should ask the experts. After reviewing my record and that of my opponents, the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association endorsed me. And in fact, the Jarvis organization said I'm the only candidate, Republican or Democrat, who Howard Jarvis himself would trust to protect Prop 13. There's another tax on jobs that we have to address, and that tax comes in the form of regulations. Regulations cost California billions of dollars every year and have taken almost 4 million jobs out of our economy. As governor, the first thing I want to do is institute a moratorium on all new regulations. We need to review the laws and regulations already on the books, get rid of the bad ones, and ensure that we're not imposing unnecessary costs on employers in California. I was the first gubernatorial candidate to acknowledge the real impacts of the state's global warming law, AB 32. You know what? We can protect the environment without destroying jobs. And that's why last September I called for a 1-year moratorium on the implementation of AB 32. It's going to take strong leadership and smart policy to get this right. This law must be fixed before it drags the economy further into a recession. Now, there's a clear choice in this election. My experience of running businesses, creating jobs, and balancing budgets stands in stark contrast to Jerry Brown's 40-year career in politics. Now, you tell me, what has Jerry Brown accomplished in those 4 decades of political life that should give Californians a single reason to let him get a second shot? Nothing. Failure, punctuated by job losses and tax increases, seems to follow him wherever he goes. Moonbeams are, after all, fleeting things, and they disappear before they can be pinned down. As governor, Jerry Brown left California in financial and physical shambles. He took our state from a large surplus to a deficit. In his 8 years, state government spending grew 120%, while the state's infrastructure crumbled. He left Oakland with failed schools, high murder rates, and a legacy of trying to raise taxes by more than $400 million on everything from garbage collection to cable TV. In Jerry Brown's Oakland, if it moved, he tried to tax it. As Attorney General, his office has been ethically challenged, while Brown, the one-time champion of local government, goes about suing counties and cities because they sided with jobs over onerous environmental regulations. Simply put, Jerry Brown has been way too liberal for way too long, and California is ready for a change. This is a defining moment in our state's history. We are going to move forward toward a new California. A new California with a government that we can afford, where businesses bear the task of job creation. Or we're going to go backward in time to another era of half-baked ideas, higher taxes, big spending, and even bigger government. The special interests that dominate Sacramento are worried about me. They know I will fight for those big reforms. And that's why the unions have committed $40 million to attack me, and it's already begun. But I will tell you, for the first time in a long time, the top of our ticket is going to have the resources and the grassroots organization to fight for votes in every corner of this state. We're going to go head to head with Jerry Brown and his $40 million of union money, and we're going to beat him. And soon, we will win the battle to give rank-and-file union members the right to protect their paychecks by giving them, not the union bosses, the power to control how their hard-earned dues are spent. We're going to win on paycheck protection. I don't have to tell the people in this room how important it is for Republicans to stop the Democrats and win in November. It's one we absolutely have to win. And that's why I've contributed $250,000 to help the state party register new Republicans. And the team's doing a great job. We've already registered over 100,000 new Republicans, on our way to what I hope will be 500,000 new Republicans by the time the polls open in November. It's a good time to be registering Republicans. The national backdrop is helpful. I've also spent my time and energy helping to raise millions more for the California Republican Party so that we'll have a strong ticket for the general election. I believe I'm the strongest Republican who can win in November. And I know that I have what it takes to get our state back on track and on a new, better path. I have the leadership skills, I have the experience, and I know exactly where I stand on the issues. My opponent in this race has changed his position on nearly every issue there is, from taxes to the open primary, from illegal immigration to partial birth abortion. His rapid reinvention has been a truly amazing feat of engineering. But it is not leadership to change with political wins. In the time of crisis, we need a leader in the governor's chair with a firm, fiscally conservative compass in her hand, not a weather vane. I have the strength to stand up to Sacramento and get the job done. If California Republicans can pull together to stop Jerry Brown, I believe the very best days for our state will be ahead of us. You know, President Reagan once said that America is too great for small dreams, and the same is true for the Golden State. I want you to join me in taking on the fight and waking up to the dream one day of a new California. I would be very honored to have your support in this contest. Thank you for inviting me to speak tonight, and thank you for everything you do for our party every single day. It's a great pleasure to be with you tonight, and what I want to do is let's go forward together and win the great Republican victory this November that will bring California back to greatness. We can make the Golden State golden again. You know, I'm a big believer in the power of many. What we can do together, none of us can do alone. And if everyone in this room bands together and says we are going to take California back, we can. and we will leave a California for our children and our grandchildren that will have as much opportunity and as much hope and optimism as the one that we came to many years ago. So thank you tonight for having me, and God bless you.